So, hello everyone. My name is Saurabh Mani Paudel, and I'm here with my friends Mr. Sandesh, Mr. Sivam, and Mr. Sital. And we're going to be talking about advanced topic in business strategy based on managerial economics. So, to start with an introduction, the concept of this presentation is in order to gain competitors advantage and in order to get ahead of competition by using various mediums and various strategies, such as by raising rivals marginal cost, or by raising rivals fixed cost, or by being the first mover and taking the first mover advantage, or by penetrating the market after our competitor already establishes itself and gaining the second mover advantage. To further elaborate on the concept, I would like to elaborate on how can we raise the cost of our rivals in order to gain the competitors advantage, or lessen the competition and then gain significantly better advantage as well as more revenue from in the market. Now, in order to do that, in order to get the grasp in competition and get advantage or the first hand in competition, we can increase the cost of competitors. We can increase the cost by various mediums and making new strategies and creating new strategies, such as increasing marginal cost or fixed cost. So before I talk about how we can increase marginal cost in detail, marginal cost is when we uh, can so marginal cost is when we produce an additional unit of output, and the cost occurred while producing the additional unit of output is called marginal cost. Now we can increase that of our rivals in order to gain the advantage, as well as fixed cost is the cost that is used, the fixed cost that is used by any firm in order to remain in the market. Another is price undercutting. In this way, we can do different penetration as well as like use cannibalistic approach in order to gain advantage in an market. Now, another is exclusive contracts with the suppliers. If our firm as well as our rivals firm are getting the resources from similar suppliers, then we can use exclusive contracts where we can add a clause where we will be paying a little bit higher, but will still be getting all the supplies, so that the supply in the market is very short and they are not able to gain the resources in order to bring the output in the market. Another is advertising campaigns that will make more difficult for competitors. So for this, I would like to give an example of Coke and Pepsi, in which Coca-Cola established a campaign in which they were distributing free samples of Coca-Cola as well as Pepsi in the when they were at their fierce rivalry stage, and then they were providing the samples of Coke and Pepsi to the customers, and they were taking feedbacks on which one is good. Now this gain them a huge advantage because it showed their confidence as well as their trust in their product. Now this put a lot of pressure on Pepsi because they were not able to create a market strategy or campaign like that, and in order to find that, they had to spend a lot of research and a lot of cost on research and development and in other marketing concepts, so that their cost increased really high in compared to Pepsi, who is just providing free samples. Now, moving on to the raising rivals marginal cost. So, as I said before, marginal cost is when we produce one additional unit of output in order to and the cost occurred while producing that. So, if we are able to raise rivals cost in producing one additional unit or additional units of output, then that is going to impact on their revenue as well as the generation of money. So the profitability will completely they will lose the profitability in the market. Now we can do this by buying raw materials and reduce the supply available to the competitors. Now we can buy the raw materials that even we are not going to use, because for the strategic purpose of not letting our competitors have it, so that they can produce their output and then sell it in the market. So we just buy it and then keep it for the next time, or maybe produce it in order to gain the competitors advantage. Another is engage in predatory pricing, where we lower our prices. So as we are competing in the market, and we are producing similar product, we can lower the prices of our product, so that our competitors are not able to compete with us. For this, I'd like to give an example of Amazon and diapers, where in early 2000s, where Amazon and diaper.com were having competition over the diaper selling, and diaper.com was actually gaining the advantage. But to stop that or kill the momentum of diaper.com, Amazon established an strategy where they completely lowered the price of diaper in their website, which gained them significant advantage over diaper.com. Now, in order to beat that, diaper.com also had to lower their prices on diapers, and that move cost them a lot of money. And then in 2010, Amazon.com bought diaper.com because they were not able to sustain themselves. Now, in order to provide further example, we can see this graphical representation where R1 and R2 are two different forms, and they have different quantity supplies, similar but similar quantities which are supplied differently in the market. Such as R1 is at the first point, we can see that R1 and R2 meet at A point, where R1 is supplying R1 is supplying certain number of output, and R2 is supplying certain number of output. But as R1 plays the game and they try to raise the marginal cost of R2 by either lowering their own price, or purchasing the resources, or by other strategies, it becomes more costly for R2, and then their production quantity also decreases by significant amount, and this gains R1 a huge advantage in the market structure. And then the reaction curve shifts to R2 square, where they meet at the B point, where R1 is getting huge advantage. So for the further presentation, I'd like to call Simon.
Thank you, Saurabh. And in this slide, rising rivals fixed cost. It means it is a business strategy where a company takes actions to increase the fixed cost of its competitors for a long term. So in order to gain a competitive advantage, like like in investing in the research and development of the production facilities, and in the label such like rent, salary, equipments costs. So by raising a competitor's fixed cost, a company can make it more difficult and costly for the competitor to operate. Ultimately, ultimately reducing their profitability and market share. For example, I have taken a real life example, Uber and Lyft. When Uber enter in the market, it implements a strategy to raise Lyft's fixed cost by offering financial incentives to driver to exclusive work for Uber, and intense incentives includes guaranteed hours rate, bonus, and for completing a certain number of tips like other pickups. So by offering these incentives, Uber make it difficult for Lyft to attract customers and retain drivers, as they would earn less money by working for Lyft. So, so when Uber strategy was successfully in gaining market share and reducing competition. It also it also lead the legal and regulatory challenges and criticism for its treatment of drivers. In this case, it shows how rising a marginal fixed cost can be effective strategy for gaining market share, but it can also lead to negative, comprehensive, and risks for the companies. In the figure, in the figure, there is a existing competitor I in increment, and the entrant, potential entrants E. There is two strategy which is applied by uh, existing entrant I. In the market, before entering E in the market, the entering in the market, I I earned 200 profits, but when he but when he but when I does not applying the uh, policy or terms for the license, E can when E enters in the market, the profit was divided into 70 and $70. So when I can existing in the market and he does not enter, he will earn 200 profit. But when applying $90 for the license, when he enters in the market, they both goes in the loss, minus $20 and minus $20. So when he does not enters in the market, I can earn $110, including uh, paid for the license, and he cannot earn money. So for the next slide, I would like to call Saurabh, who's on this.
Thank you, Shivam. So we are going to talk about first mover advantages. So let me start by first mover advantage is a business strategy where a company seeks to gain a competitive advantage by entering the market first or introducing their products or services before other competitors. By being the first mover, a company can establish brand recognition, customer loyalty, secure key distribution channels, and also set the pricing and features for their products. This can make the competitors difficult to enter the market share, as the first mover advantage has already gained the trust of the customers. But uh, there are also potential disadvantages to being the first mover, such as high costs, research and development, marketing, distribution channels. So the another disadvantage is that the competitors may be able to learn from the first movers' mistakes and improve their products, services, features. So this must be carefully evaluated by the first mover party. So here I'm going to describe this diagram for you. So there is competitor B and market leader A. So we are going to look at the first mover advantage that A has over B. So in the first case, when A produces low level of output, B has two options. It's to create low output or high output. But let's look at the B's uh, payoff. So here the B's payoff is higher is in high output, which is 15. So let's look at the A's output in that B's high output, which is 10. So moving on to the next part, which is the when A produces high output, B has two options, which is low output and high output. Here, let's look at the B's payoffs, which is $5 and $2. So in overall, we should look at how the first mover advantage is going to hold over the B's advantages. So looking at this, we see when A when the first mover advantage of A is to produce high output, and then B automatically go for low output as their payoff is high on that low output. So I'll give you an example about Tesla. So Tesla is the best example for first mover advantage, as Tesla introduced their electric vehicles and they were able to create brand loyalty to the customers. They were trusted by their customers. They also created a mass manufacture of electric vehicles, which gained market share of that electric vehicles. And it also has created a lot of charging stations which cannot be used by other competitors. So it has the first mover advantage. So for the next slide, I would like to call Sheetal.
Thank you, Sandesh. So, discussing about Sandesh second mover advantage. Uh, Second mover advantage is a benefit that a company gets entering the market or when they introduce new product in the market after the first mover has already established itself. So, as my friend Sandesh mentioned, that first mover has always the hustle of making huge investment in research and development. So it gives a second mover advantage to the uh, competitor entering into the market and permit a firm to earn higher payoff by free riding on the investment made by the first mover and produce at lower cost. So discussing about second mover advantage example. Let's take example of ride sharing apps in Nepal. Uh, initially the ride sharing concept was introduced by Tootle in Nepal, but it was not able to cater the market because it was not able to strategize effectively to cater the market. But it showed the potential of the market to its competitors, and Patao grasped the opportunity and it entered into the market, and now it made huge investment in research and now is doing good business in Nepal. And after Patao, InDriver is the new competitor for Patao, and in ride-sharing business, only there are two dominating competitors in Nepal right now. That is InDriver and Patao. So InDriver took the opportunity, and it took the opportunity and uh, It lowered its cost by uh, giving opportunity to the existing riders in the market by providing them incentives and benefits that Patao may or may not provide to its uh, riders, but InDriver took the advantage. And thank you.
Thank you.